there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I've got a lot of fun DIY home decor crafts for you today. That is a mouthful, huh? Who thought of that opening line? What are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be working on farmhouse home decor using mostly Dollar Tree supplies, so let's get started with project number 1. For this project, I'm going to use these shorter slat boards Dollar Tree has. They're about 12 inches in length, I think. If you don't have the short ones and you have the long ones, you of course could use these and cut them down or cut them in half and make them go further. Your tag would just be a little bit shorter. Yes, we're making a tag. And I'm going to use one of these wood rings from Dollar Tree as well. The 6-count bag, so that's the smaller size. So what I did to kind of help me is I lined up my boards on a piece of tape here, just using 4 of them so that the bottom was lined up really good. And then I just kind of drew the lines up at the top and a circle kind of in the center. And it helped me keep it together, and I could cut it with my jigsaw. You could just sand it down if you had your triangle pieces more close to the edge and just kind of use a sander and sand down those areas to kind of make that tag shape. But I just kind of went like that. And then drilled a hole in the center to fit the center of our little wood ring there. Okay. Once my pieces are cut, I'm going to go ahead and use some wood glue here and wood glue my wood pieces together. I have just a small hole here to kind of start because I went to try and drill the bigger hole, but it was actually kind of hard without my pieces glued together. And yes, you could glue all your pieces together first and then go and cut everything, but I kind of did it backwards, so there you go. So go ahead and finish gluing these together, and then where my tiny hole is, I'll use a bigger drill bit and make a bigger hole. So, maybe don't do as I do, maybe glue them together first, and then you can cut and drill your hole. But sometimes I just like to do things backwards. Let that glue sit up. I'm going to use some clamps here to make sure everything is squeezed together nice and tight so we get a nice good bond here. Because I'm doing it backwards, I want a nice good bond. You can see now I have a bigger hole at the top. We're going to be using Debbie's Design Diary DIY White Swan chalk paint here. And I just kind of am painting it here and there. I'm going to leave some places bare just so I don't have to sand in that place. And when I go to paint, I'm kind of putting on the first coat thinner, but then I'm going to come back over that first coat and I'm going to make nice big thick paint areas. Okay, so you can see there how I kind of have it. I do the same thing on the back. The sides I cover completely because I'll sand those. It's just a little bit easier, but I just kind of lightly cover it. And now I'm coming back over and you can see big globs of paint coming on here. And then I'm using my heat tool. It's industrial heat tool, so it gets really, really hot, going over those big globs of paint, and it'll kind of crackle them. Because the process I wanted was to kind of make it look like there was, had been several layers of paint over the years. So you can kind of see the crackling here to the left, like right there, where I crackled up here at the top. I just wanted it to look like this well-used, well-painted piece of decor, I guess. So next thing I'm going to do is take this antique wax by Waverly, mixed with water. You guys know how I do that with the stain. I'm just going to stain our little wood ring here. And you don't have to have a wood ring if you can't find them in the store. This is just purely decorative. And then I'm going to sand everything up really well. And then the next thing I'm going to do is use these wood beads from Dollar Tree. I'm going to come in and go ahead and paint these a couple of coats, and then I'll distress them a little bit off camera. And I'm just painting them the same color, of course, as the tag here. Very neutral decor from me. Of course, you guys know I do a lot of very neutral decor because I sell 98% of this stuff. I don't know colors of people's houses, so I usually go very neutral decor. So here's everything sanded. Now, here's what I'm using for my quote on here. I did create it on my Cricut design space. I will have a free printable for you. It will be in my description box, and you can use that to trace it on and then draw paint markers, or use that printable in your cutting machine program or whatever to cut it out with vinyl if you want. So I've got it placed on here and peeling it off. goes a little bit slow. I'll kind of cut ahead for you here a little bit because they're tiny little letters. And then also in the description box, I'll have for you the fonts I use, and they are fonts from creativefabrica.com. It's the Germany Duo font, and I'll have that listed down below for you as well if you want to pick up that font and just create it yourself. So you've got quite a few options here to create the same quote if this is what you like. And then we're going to go ahead. I'm using Beacon Fabri-Tac glue here, and I'm going to glue on our little wood ring here. Just like that. I just let it sit for a couple of minutes. And then I'm coming in with some really thick twine from my supply. I don't know why twine always has these pieces of like stuff in it. Anyway, and then I'm going to tie a knot about, part way down, and I'm going to take a couple beads. You can see them all distressed here. I'm going to put 2 beads on each little tail here. Nice simple project today. And then I'm going to decide where I want them. I'm going to tie a knot at the end of each one and cut off the excess, kind of fray the bottom a little bit. I'll do that on both sides, and then that makes this project complete. So let's move on to project number 2. For this project, I'm going to use this little garden stake sign from Dollar Tree. I've taken the back off and then the little rope handle, hanging handle that was stapled on there. And I'm going to use 2 of these smiley face wood plaques. I know they have plainer wood plaques, but they are a little bit larger than this. And these 2 circles together work great. And I'm going to try out this stencil on my project today. I end up not liking it, changing it up, but I leave it in there for you if you want to try it. I am going to sand all this paper off. If you don't want to do that and you want to use this side of the plaque, I just didn't want to use this side because I didn't want those little holes in there, and there's no way to really sand those little holes completely out. So here's my circle all the way done, sanded and everything, the paper off. And what I'm doing here is just taking a ruler and kind of finding the center of my little smiley face wood circle. So I'm drawing a line all the way across horizontal. And then what I'm going to do is lay my circle right on top, and then I'm going to make sure, I've got it even all the way around, about 1 inch in if you use both of these pieces. And then I'm going to line it back up with the line before and draw a line across my center circle. Okay, and then I'm going to come down about 1 inch, all right, on our smiley face here, and I'm going to tape it off. Now what we're doing on this larger piece, we want to mirror it on the smaller piece. So we're working both pieces at the same time. So I am 1 inch above and below that center line here, and I'm marking it off. And then I'm coming down about, a quarter of an inch, I think, here. And I'm going to mark a second line here with my tape and tape that off. Both sides, about a quarter of an inch. Tape that off. Perfect. Just like that. I'm going to set this, I've got my line in the center so I can center it, right? And then that way I can come in and do the same thing, mark the same areas with the tape on the top circle. And I'm leaving it laying on the bottom circle so I can line my tape pieces right up, okay? Now once we get everything taped up, we need to take that smaller circle on top and trace it onto the larger circle, but for right now, I just want to get my tape in the exact same place as the circle down below. And then what I'll do is just kind of lift up that tape a little bit and then draw the circle all the way around, because we don't need to paint in that center area on the larger circle because we're going to wood glue that together, okay? So as you can see, I'm just picking up the tape, drawing it, putting it back down. And then once it's drawn and I know everything's in the exact spot, I'll lift this smaller circle up and off. And what we're going to do is, using Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Drop Cloth to start, we're going to mirror, and this Waverly wax, antique wax, we water that down like a stain. We're going to mirror what we're doing on the larger circle the same on the smaller circle because we're laying these together and we want it to look like one unit. So first thing we're doing is inside the tape areas, this portion along the center, the fatter portion, and then the two skinny little lines. That's what we're painting on this larger piece. Okay, and then I'm even doing it down the sides and everything. Okay, so I'm just making sure my tape's down firmly so I don't get any paint underneath it. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to switch over to the smaller circle now. We're painting the larger section in the center and the sides, of course, and then the two smaller little sections on either side of that. Go ahead and peel the tape off here. It looks so nice and pretty here, and I want it to look this crisp, but then I go to use that stencil and I change it all up, just letting you know. Now, here's where I come in. I have to tape off my larger circle again here because I need to do some staining. Now, on that smaller circle, you can see I tape that off as well. Okay, ready to do some staining. You probably don't really have to stain if you don't want to. The wood's kind of dark enough, I guess, on both pieces, but I want it darker, okay? So I have to tape off, you know, the larger circle as well to get the staining in there, and then once I get that done, I'm going to stain on the smaller circle. So you have to retape your tape to cover up your white areas and then stain around either side of those areas. And it might be more understandable as you're looking at it than I'm explaining it, so sorry about that. But what this smaller circle looks like, we want it mirrored on the bottom circle. It's just a little bit different because I know the bottom circle kind of has that smiley face in the center of it, so it kind of makes it look kind of weird. I'm coming in now with some sandpaper, and I'm just distressing like around the circle and then the areas that are, you know, quote-unquote stained with our Waverly wax. Waverly Antique Wax, I guess. Okay, and then I'm, of course, distressing this area as well. And I know we have two wood circles. We'll get to that other one in a minute. It's just, I chose two wood circles so that the bottom portion is thicker. You could just use one if you want, okay? But I wanted the base of the two larger circles to be thicker. So that's why I do two circles. Here's what it looks like together. So all you're doing is making sure you match everything up. Okay, here's where I'm coming in with the stencil that just does not work for me. There's no sticky on the back, so I do come in with this spray glue from Dollar Tree. It tells you how to, you know, spray it on and how to use it as a temporary hold. And so that holds nicely. I tape it off just so I don't get paint around anywhere else. And then I come in with Debbie's Design Diary DIY little black dress paint and a paintbrush, a pouncy brush here, and I am putting it on like way uber thin here because I know there's going to be some bleeding. And so I take it off, and the bleeding is too much. I can't handle it, you guys. I'm just like a little compulsive here. I will bring it up a little closer for you, but it's just too much. I don't like it at all. It's just too much bleeding. If you like that look or whatever, by all means keep doing it, but I can't stand it. So not real impressed with the stencil because there's no sticky on the back, but I wanted to do it for you and I left it in. So you can see I had to go in and take my nice crispness and I had to sand it all up. And now you can see where there was areas because I used that black paint. That black paint kind of shows a little bit, but in the end, it's going to just, you know, add to the distressedness of it now since it's all very distressed. So now I'm coming down with the bottom piece, the second smiley face circle, and just staining around the edges. And then I'm coming in with some Jenga blocks. Now these are Jenga blocks from an actual like Jenga game, so they're huger than the tumbling tower blocks at Dollar Tree, but you could totally use the tumbling tower blocks. And I'm just staining those up. So here's what I did. I kind of wanted the same stencil. I created it in my Cricut design space. Yes, I'll have a free printable for that as well in my description box for you. Okay? So you can trace it or, you know, use it in your cutting machine program and get that cut out for yourself. So this is the way I went in the end. And now I'm using wood glue here. I'm going to wood glue both my circles together. So this bottom circle, I'm adding wood glue everywhere, of course. And like I said, I chose two wood circles to make it a thicker base. And then I traced the back and I laid down my Jenga sticks where I was going to put them, traced around it, and I cut that out of my cardstock here. So that's how I got that. Traced the circle and then traced where I want the Jenga sticks, and I got those cut out. Using my Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, I'm going to cover that bottom so it looks all nice and finished off. You guys know how I cover and finish everything off, and covers our smiley face up. So now when no one knows we used a smiley face. And then what I'm doing is just taking my sandpaper here, and I'm just going in a downward motion against the wood of the smiley face to get off any overhang of that cardstock. Okay? Do that all the way around. And I'm using this rope from Dollar Tree, and I'm just making little rope handles here. I think they're probably about between the knots about 4 inches. So it's 4 inches of rope in between the knots. So however long you want it. I'm just making sure they're both going to be the same length here. Make some faux little handles. And then I'm going to go ahead and use some wood glue here, and we're going to wood glue our smaller circle to the center of our larger circle, making sure that we match up all our little painted lines. Okay, make sure everything's all matched up here. I go ahead and clip it together, and while it's setting up, I'm going to add some wood glue to our Jenga blocks here, or your tumbling tower blocks. That way we have, a little feet on our, tray. Get all those in there. And then I wanted the feet, kind of stained so it matched the staining of the rest of the tray, right? Perfect. Once I get that in there and that's all set up, I'll flip it over and, of course, take our little clips off. These Dollar Tree clips work wonderful. And then we're going to see how that looks, ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and come in, and I'm just going to kind of center where I want my little handles to be. And Beacon Fabri-Tac glue works perfectly fine here. Just make sure you get enough on. You, of course, can use hot glue if you prefer that. What I do is just kind of get the Fabri-Tac glue on there and hold it into position for just a little bit. Fabri-Tac glue is tacky for about 15 seconds, about 30 seconds starts to sit up a little more, and about 1 minute is set, and then I just clamp those down, for that 1 minute, 2 minutes. Actually, I think I did about 2 minutes here since it's a big glob of glue. And once I get those into position, everything's set up, I remove the clamps. That makes this project complete. So let's move on to project number 3, a lindified dupe. So for today's inspiration, I came across this project or product from Kohl's. It came in at $33.59. I, of course, changed it up a little bit, as you know. So let's move on with it. So for this project, you're going to need 4 paint sticks. I'm going to use 6 of these 12-inch slats from Dollar Tree. And of course, if all you can find is the longer slats, you can just cut them down or cut them in half and make this just a little bit smaller to make your longer wood pieces go a little bit further. Okay, but that's easy enough to do. But these, you don't have to do any cutting except on the wood sticks, and you can use your miter box and saw. I'm going to actually use some little mini clothespins here, but you could use little bull clips just like it was on the original piece. So I cut my paint sticks down, 2 of them down to 13 inches, and then 2 of them down to the size of the wood slats, which is, just close to 12 inches. Now what I'm going to do is put all my wood slats together, just like this, and I'm going to tape off around the perimeter about 1/4 of an inch in. And the reason I'm doing this is because we're going to, again, use wood glue to attach these pieces to our paint sticks. And I want to leave the outer perimeter all the way around with nothing on it so that we have raw wood to raw wood when we wood glue so that we get a better hold. I'm going to, again, use our Waverly Antique Wax mixed with water to use as a stain. Yes, we have Marley here today. You've probably noticed that throughout the video today. So it's funny as I get up there to paint, I keep having to move her tail, and then she flicks it back into position, but I did not stain her tail. And funny, she's just right close. And move the tail. There we go. This is not a professional video, folks. Once everything's dry, I'm going to pull off the tape so you can see our outer perimeters, that nice wood, and then I'm going to turn it over and go ahead and work the back side because I want it all nice and finished off. You could skip this part if it doesn't bother you. paint everything up, ready to go, and then I sand everything up with my electric sander. Distress them all. We want them all nice and distressed. Here's everything ready. Got it all distressed. And then the paint sticks as well. I painted those with our little stain and distressed around the edges, leaving the edges open where I knew I was going to be gluing them together, the sides and the ends. Okay, so we're going to start gluing this together just like a little frame. 2 shorter pieces, top and bottom, and the longer pieces on the right and left side. And I'm just kind of using a paintbrush here because it's a small area, and then I don't have to get the glue on my fingers. That wood glue is fun to keep peeling off your fingers, so that's why I use a paintbrush. Get everything into position, you can see here. And I do clamp it because, you know, we want those ends to get nice and tight together, and just let that sit for like half an hour. And then you can see the top portion on the side is all nice and unstained. The bottom's stained there, see, because everyone, you know, someone buys this, they'll see the bottom finished off. And then we'll go ahead and start gluing our slats to our frame here. And then pay attention, you know, you've got the top and bottom pieces that have the sides and one end with no stain on it if you chose to do it that way. So make sure your top and bottom pieces are for the top and bottom, because your side pieces only have the ends here, as you can see how I'm gluing, with no stain on it. And yeah, I'm putting it on with a paintbrush. I had someone ask me why I do that. It's just because like smaller areas like this, it's a little easier with the paintbrush. And in wood glue, you know, I don't have to like put the wood glue on and, you know, rub it in with my finger or anything like that. You know, wood glue, trying to peel that off your hands later, it's a fun project. So I usually would kind of use a paintbrush. I can keep better control of it. I don't put it on in a thinner layer because you don't need a lot of wood glue when you use it. It's nice and strong, goes on better in a thinner layer, and, you know, not a lot squeezes out the side, that kind of thing. So that's why I use a paintbrush when I do this. And then I just wash my paintbrush out once I'm done with the glue on it, and my paintbrush is perfectly fine and usable again. Just kind of wash it out in hot water and all that glue comes out. Get our last piece on here. And then I'll just set some heavy things on top for this till those ends all set up. Okay, so for our middle pieces, I am using scrapbook paper here. It's double-sided scrapbook paper. I'll show you which one I'm using here, and I'll have a link in the description box for you. This is by Prima Marketing, which is one of my favorite brands of paper, and it's called Love Clippings. A lot of you always ask where my paper is. I don't often tell you because a lot of the collections I use are old collections, and I know they're just not hard to find. So from now on, if it's something I can find and know that you can find it, I'll have a link down in the description box for you. So I'm taking all my pieces to the sewing machine, and I'm sewing around the pieces of my paper. That's what you can see right here. I'll do it on all 6 pieces, and I cut my paper to fit just shy of all the 6 wood pieces. So it's probably about, 1/8 of an inch short all the way around, so that you see a little bit of that wood perimeter around the paper when we go to glue this on. I've got the open end of my scissor blades, and I scrape along the edges of the paper to give it a nice rustic look. You can see here what it looks like with or without, so you can decide what you like. I just like that rustic look, and the sewing, you know, I say it a lot, gives it kind of that rustic country look. And so I'm just going to lay them on here so you can see what it looks like and how I cut my papers. Just like that. It's where the lindified comes in. And yes, I created another thing on my Cricut design space. And yes, I'll have another free printable in the description box for you. So what you can do is either trace it on and then use like a Sharpie or something like that to get it on there. Or by using the free printable, you can print that out onto your paper first and then cut your paper out to fit your project. Okay, I used to do that all the time. When I didn't have a cutting machine, I would print it out onto my paper first, put it into whatever program you like, print it out, and then cut my paper to fit. So we'll just get each of our pieces on here. I'm trying to make this so that everything is kind of over to the right edge so it matches the project from Kohl's. And I will have the all the fonts I used in all the projects today listed in my description box as well. These are freebies from defont.com. I can't remember what they are, but they'll be in the description box for you. Getting all of these on in place just takes a little bit. I kind of want you to see the process of all of it. Where our lindified comes in using the scrapbook paper. And if you don't want to use scrapbook paper, you can make it. I actually went back and forth. whether I wanted it on bare wood like the actual original project had, or if I wanted to kind of bring in that scrapbook paper. But I've got so much of it from my scrapbooking days, it's like, why not utilize it, you know? And plus it makes it look a little bit different. You know, when you're selling at shows, you know, you go to a show and I always see 3 or 4 booths with wood signs. So how can I make mine look a little bit different? So I bring in that scrapbook paper. They go around, they're looking, they see wood signs. They come to mine. It's a wood sign, but it's just got that little bit of a difference to it. It's got that little bit of a rustic kind of farmhouse look to it. And it might make the difference of them picking up the sign at my booth versus at somebody else's booth. So that's why I kind of bring in that scrapbooking paper and stuff. Again, using Beacon Fabri-Tac glue here. We'll just do a couple at a time, get our glue on and get our strips into place. Make sure you get them in the right order. When I went to place my words into position, I actually started with the bottom word moments, as you saw, and I took that in about 1 inch from the right edge, and then all my words up above that, I tried to center it above that word moments. So, and you know, that's how I kind of got my alignment for all of these pieces of paper here. Okay, we're coming into the last little bit here, getting our papers on, looking super cute. Love using my brayer here. It's nice to get that glue all spread underneath. And now I'm just kind of marking where I want to put my clips. So I'm going on the 1st and 4th slat. And then I will just use Beacon Fabri-Tac glue on the clothespins to place those in. Of course, again, you could use those bull clips. And I'm placing them at the very top of each of those slats. And with that done, let's take a look at our price comparison. Now, Kohl's came in at a sale price of $33.59. I think the original was $55, and then you'd have to pay shipping. Our price came in at $9, and I tried to include everything, like if you had to buy the vinyl from Dollar Tree, everything. Of course, free shipping. I think our Lindified dupe turned out just beautiful, and that makes this project complete. So I hope you enjoyed all the projects I came up with today. Please give this video a thumbs up, and you know the drill. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which project was your favorite. If you're just stopping by, this is your first time, you're checking things out and you're digging what you saw, make sure before you click off you hit that red subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on a single video from me. Remember, I will have free printables for you for your own projects in my description box down below. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. During times of pain or struggle, we often ask ourselves, why isn't the situation happening the way it should? Why isn't the situation going the way I want? Why isn't God healing me? Stop. Take a deep breath. Refocus. Set your aim on the one who loves and saves. But keep in mind that he may not heal the way you think he should or in the time frame you think he should. But beloved, he has come for you. He died for you, so he will heal in his time, if only for you. He loves you so much. When we surrender to him, he makes it into something powerful and beautiful, even life-changing. But if you don't surrender to him, there is something he cannot heal, your pain. It's your choice to surrender. So do you want to stay within your comfort of pain? Or do you want to let God take it from you, work it for you, heal it for you? Again, it's your choice. So which path do you want? Let me ask you this. What's holding you back? You have access to God, but what's keeping you from accessing the one who can comfort you? My advice, take a deep breath in, let it out slowly, and open your heart. Open your hands. Open your mind. Let the sweet savor of God carry you forward, and let him bring in your healing. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.